Welcome to 5 Mantra Career Point. I am Dr. Venkanna. I am a senior faculty in English language teaching and English literature. So I am into this field for more than 15 years, and I am known to many students in two states, both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So I did my master MA in English and MEd from Usmania University, MPhil, PGCT and PhD from English and Foreign Languages University. So coming to my experience with regard to competitive field, many state first rankers in terms of TGTs, PGTs, junior lecturers, degree lecturers, working in 20 states since 2006 were all my students into the field. So I am a guest faculty as a part of this 5 Mantra Career Point, which is continued by Dr. Riyaz Garu. So in this lecture I am going to talk about General English for Eclavia Model Residential Schools, and at the same time I will also give you particular overview with regard to what are the major important parts of General English with regard to Group 1 or Group 2 or Telangana Gurukula examinations or Andhra Pradesh TET and DSC examinations. In addition to EMRS, I will also talk about that. So coming to the present discussion. So the moment you talk about syllabus with regard to General English, so mainly the concept of General English mainly which includes three major areas. One will be English grammar, the major important point that you need to give a lot of priority for. General English grammar. This English grammar which includes more than 12 topics like parts of speech, articles, prepositions, tenses, modal verbs, and if conditional sentences, question tags, active and passive voice sentences, and direct index speeches, degrees of comparison, phrases and clauses, simple compound complex sentences, which is nothing but transformation of sentences. So all these are the various topics which become a part of English grammar and which is very important for us. For every examination, if you take any examination, not just Eclavia Model Residential Schools, if you go for CTET or if you go for any KVS examinations or NVS, Navodaya Vidyalaya Residency recruitments, when you talk about, so the moment you think of General English, English grammar, these are the common 12 important topics that need to be focused. But the difficulty level will change. And what is that? I'll give you some basic examples and practical examples with regard to that. And second thing will be functional English. This plays an important role. First we need to understand, if you go for any exam, if you write any exam in Indian context, general English plays an important role. General English is a must topic. It's an important topic, and maybe marks vary. So functional English, the moment you think of functional English, this includes, are you aware of the mechanics of writing a letter? Are you aware of reading a text and understand? Are you aware of using certain punctuation marks? Are you aware of certain communicative skills in English? Are you aware of how to use a request, how to use a polite request, how to use a command, how to make an invitation, how to make an order? So all these aspects which become a part of functional English today. So some one way or the other, I can say maybe a kind of communicative English. That is actually, and what are the ways of writing a note? What are the ways of writing a letter? What are the ways of writing an invitation, a memo, or a notice? What are the basic things that you need to focus on? All those become a part of functional English. Next, with regard to vocabulary, this is a very difficult area for most of the students who write examinations with regard to general English, because vocabulary, the concept of vocabulary, which includes a lot, but you need to understand what level are you actually preparing for, and is it are you preparing for a school-based exam, or a college-based exam, or a university-based exam? So what kind of vocabulary you need to acquire with regard to school-based examination, with regard to college-based examination, with regard to university kind of examination. So this vocabulary becomes very difficult to the students who write national services examinations, like maybe bank PO, bank clerk, or NDA examinations. So this vocabulary, which includes and synonyms, identifying similar meanings, antonyms, identifying opposite in meanings, and spelling mistakes. Next, homophones, homonyms, one-word substitutions, mainly. Next, and the other difficult important concept area as part of this vocabulary is and identifying the meanings of phrasal verbs, idiomatic expressions that play an important role, these aspects. So what needs to be read, what needs to be focused with regard to this vocabulary? We'll have a discussion. So since this present video is all about Eklavya Model Residential Schools, so already they have mentioned a wonderful note, and class 12 CBSE unrevised the syllabus, and with regard to TGT class 10, which means if you read vocabulary, if you go for vocabulary or grammar or functional English, the kind of vocabulary, the kind of grammar, the kind of functional English which is mentioned and till class 12 of CBSE, that you need to have focus on. That's what, and your focus should be on when you prepare for these examinations. If you want to succeed in that, your limit to be in that. So we'll talk about the major. So when we talk about English grammar, as I told you, English grammar, which includes a number of topics, like there are more than 12 important topics, like you can see basic structures, certain things, basic structures, sentence structures. In English, when you talk about a sentence, there are broadly, in general, sentences are classified into 4 types: declarative, imperative, interrogative, exclamative sentences. So when we talk about the first major important topic, when we talk about this basic structures, broadly there are only 4 important types of structures. Declarative sentences, which are also called basic assertive sentences. What are all these things? Maybe universal truths, ordinary statements like. What are all these statements? And we can say, we are students, the sun is bright, or else we can say the sun rises in the east, or else you can say Kesar is the CM of Telangana. So these are all ordinary statements, assertive statements. Or it can be, second can be imperative. Imperative sentences are nothing but, can be a command or request or order. It can be a command or an order, close the door. And these imperative sentences do not have subjects. We need to understand, they are internalized. So imperative sentences can be a command or an order. Close the door, shut up your mouth, and don't talk rubbish, like you can have. It can be an order or request, or it can be a request. Please close the door. Please stop talking. Please, and let me attend these classes, like that. These can be, and request can be, imperative sentences. Next, it can be a wish. Hi, this can be imperative. Good morning, this can be imperative. Or may God bless you, this can be imperative, because these are all wishes, greetings. Next, third can be the basic structures. How many are there? 4 important types of basic structures: declarative, imperative, and interrogative sentences. All interrogative sentences usually end with a question mark. Question mark. Could you please close the door? Will you please stop talking? Like any statement which ends with why are you disturbing me? These types of sentences which we can say interrogative sentences. Next, last one can be exclamatory sentences. These end with exclamation mark. Okay, what a pleasant surprise. Oh, and I am a guest faculty in 5-month career point, like that. So basic things in the examinations, like you have, if you observe CTET examination or NVS examination or KVS examination or examinations like AP TET or DSC or Gurukula examinations, you find a bit like please close the door. This is an example for declarative, imperative, interrogative, or exclamatory. This is the best simple example for imperative. Shut up your mouth. The above sentence is an example for, maybe you have to say declarative or imperative, interrogative, or exclamatory sentence. Like that you will get bits in examinations, any kind of examinations. Next, second topic is parts of speech. Very important area, very important concept. Parts of speech, we can say in Telugu Bhasha Bhagamlo. How many parts are there? If you take a sentence in English, what could be the list of parts? And if you take, for example, let me write a small sentence. KCR is the CM of Telangana state. For example, what do? I divide this small sentence into different parts. Classification of a small sentence into different parts, which we can say parts of speech. And you can say this is noun, this is verb, article, noun, preposition, noun. So classification of a sentence into meaningful words is called parts of speech. There are nearly 8 parts of speech in general, but when with regard to English teachers, if you are preparing for TGT English or PGT English or English teachers, I can say parts of speech. There are 9 important parts of speech, like nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, prepositions, and conjunctions, interjections, and the last one is determinants. Determinants. So since when it comes to general, we don't talk about the concept of determinants, but once you observe and the previous CTET examination question paper, there are bits on determinants. So which means you need to also understand that there are 9 parts of speech, I can say. So you need to focus on, in the examination, bits are on types of nouns, mainly with regard to competitive examinations. So when you talk about parts of speech, what you need to keep in your mind, you have to think of, mainly questions are based on types of nouns. Questions are based on how does a noun end. You need to identify. For example, agree, agreement. The word agreement is an example for noun. How do you say the suffix meant? Okay, angry, angrily. The word angrily, which is the best example for adverb. Like that you need to know. So your focus should be always on what is noun and what are the types of noun. What are the broad types of nouns? Broadly 4 important types of nouns. Proper nouns, common nouns, collective nouns, abstract nouns. And these common nouns can be again categorized into major areas: countable, uncountable. What are countable and uncountable? Most of the competitive examinations, bits are based on uncountable nouns. Are you going to use CZs? After CZs, what is the verb that you can use? News, economics, or spectacles. After these uncountable nouns, or advice is or are, and suggestion is or are, news is or oil is or are, work, what do you say? A piece of work or works? And homework or homeworks. So this is actually a discussion with regard to nouns, common nouns, countable, uncountable. Most of the questions in the competitive field, once you observe from TTC to CSAT, Civil Service Examination, most of the questions are based on types of noun, mainly on uncountable nouns, common nouns, countable, uncountable. What are the important adjectives that we can use with the countable, uncountable? That is also very important. Next, sometimes simple examinations like you may also have a bit like New Delhi is the capital of India. New Delhi is the best example for proper noun, common noun, collective noun, or something else. Delhi is a popular city. City is best example for common noun, collective noun, proper noun. It's a common noun. Like that you need to answer. Next, as part of parts of speech, another important topic is pronouns. Pronouns. What is pronoun? Pronoun is a word which is used in place of a noun. And what are major important types of pronouns? Broadly, 3 important types of pronouns. First person, second person, third person. And pronouns are majorly, they are classified more than 9 important types. And broadly you can say till class 12. For example, if you ask me, and personal pronouns. Example, I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. Personal pronouns. And which are also called subjective pronouns. They are used actually in the place of subject. In English, when we have to understand the structure of English, subject and the verb and the object or complement. And one of the major important elements of English structure is verb. And the word which is used before the verb is subject, after the verb may be a complement or an object. You need to have certain idea. So pronouns, if they are used in the place of subject, subjective pronouns or personal pronouns. If they are used in the place of object, they are called objective pronouns. What are they? Me, us, him, her, them, it. So all those are objective pronouns. And in the competitive examinations, most of the bits are based on reflexive emphatic pronouns. For example, let me write a small sentence for you. Nehru himself praised me. So I have used a pronoun like himself. And somebody says, let me write another statement like Nehru praised himself me. I have used. When you use, in English there are certain important pronouns like myself, ourselves, himself, herself, themselves, itself. These pronouns can be used in 2 ways. If it is used in between subject and main verb, if it is used in between subject and main verb, or whether they are used after the main verb. If they are used in between subject and main verb, they are called emphatic pronouns. If they are used after the main verb, they are called reflexive pronouns. Most of the examination, once you prepare for this AP TET or AP DSC or Gurukula examinations or any kind of examination, EMRS or CTET examinations, these types of bits are given in the examinations. So here himself is an example for emphatic. Here himself is an example for reflexive. What does it mean by emphatic and reflexive? You need to have some clarity. Next, like that you have. Next, pronouns. In these days, mainly for the past 5 or 6 years, the questions are also based on relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. What are relative pronouns in English? What are major important relative pronouns in English? And we can say, we have, for example, relative pronouns. In English you can say pronouns like which, that, who, whose, this, that, when, where. These are considered to be relative pronouns. For example, I can say a small sentence. This is the dog which bit me yesterday. This is the dog which bit me yesterday. Here the pronoun which is an example for relative pronoun. Okay. Dr. Riyaz, who was educated in Kakatiya University and established at the 5 mantra career point. Dr. Riyaz, and who established the pronoun who is the best example for relative pronoun. Like that you will get bits. And you here a sentence, a class with a relative pronoun is also called a relative class in English, simply. So today, once you observe any question paper conducted, any examination that is conducted by this CBSC, NTA or Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, bits are based on relative pronouns or relative classes. Next, with regard to adjectives, what are adjectives? Adjective refers to a word which describes more about a noun or pronoun. And these adjectives, we can say in English, describing words. And today, most of the questions are based on what is the order of using adjectives. What and how does an adjective end? How do you say this is an adjective? What is the order of what and how do you identify that this is an adjective? How does an adjective end? Usually an adjective ends with IC, logic, tragic, magic, or Y. Okay, happy, clumsy, dirty, or FUL, beautiful, thankful, grateful, wonderful, less, colorless, powerless, flawless, or OUS. Okay, gorgeous and awesome, like or some, handsome, awesome, troublesome, like or ER, larger, bigger, higher, or EST, like there are plenty, I can say. There are plenty of suffixes, and based on that you can easily identify this is an adjective. So if you are seriously preparing for competitive examinations, and if you really believe that English, general English is actually disturbing you, you need to master these aspects. So what is an adjective, and how does an adjective end, and what is the right use of what is the right order of using adjectives? This is very important for us. So what is the correct order of using adjectives? I have a small code for you. You need to remember this small code: OSC plus NMP plus noun. So you need to remember this code. What is the right order of using adjectives? There are sentences like, there are questions in the competitive examinations like, identify a sentence with the correct use of adjectives. In which of the following sentence, and which of the following sentence is you and has adjectives in the proper order? There are questions like that, you need to remember. So adjectives are in different ways. First, adjective should be always our opinion, good, bad, beautiful and nice. These types of adjectives are to be used at the beginning. Next, yes, size and shape, large, big, small, tall. Next, C refers to color. Next, color related adjectives, bright, brown and blue, red. Next, N refers to nationality, Indian, Australian, American, British, Anglo-Indian, like. M refers to material, plastic, wooden, gold, silver. Next, P refers to purpose, sitting table, writing pad, reading book and dining. So all these are various purposes. Later you need to use a word. A beautiful short Indian woman, you can say. A beautiful short Indian woman. A nice small sitting chair. You have to use like that. So this is a common bit in the competitive examinations. Remember, what is the right order of using adjectives in the examination. Next, you can go for verb, very important topic, verb. Verb usually talks about three things. Okay, it usually, for example, I am a lecturer. Here, I am refers to, and your status, who am I? Presently, I am a lecturer. This is. So, verb usually talks about I am a lecturer. So here am talks about status of a person. Who are you? I was a student of English and Foreign Languages University. I was. What was my previous status? It was past status. This is present status. So verb usually talks about status. Next, I have a car. Say the word. So here have. This is the best example for verb. And here verb talks about possession. What do you have? What do you have right now? What did you have in the previously? So verb usually talks about status, next talks about possession, next I am working now, working, it's an action. So simply what I am trying to say, verb mainly talks about three things. Status may be present or past, possession may be present or past, action may be present or past. These are, so this is verb, and these verbs, verb is actually categorized into two types, main verbs, helping verbs. So when we talk about helping verbs, sahayak kriyalu, so these helping verbs, in English we can also say auxiliary verbs or ancillary verbs. And these auxiliary verbs again categorized into two types, primary and secondary. What are primary helping verbs? And again primary helping verbs can be categorized into three types. Be forms, am, is, are, was, were, be, been, being. 8. Do forms, do, does, did. Have forms, have, has, had. Next, modal and secondary helping verbs. Secondary helping verbs are also called modal auxiliaries. These, how many are there in English modal auxiliaries? 13. As a whole, 13. Will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, need to, ought to, use, today, to, must. 13 modal verbs. Together, helping verbs in English, 27. 27 from the history of English. From Shakespeare onwards, there are only just 27 helping verbs. There is no change at all. And how do you use these helping verbs? You need to know. Where and when do we use? What are the forms of these helping verbs? And what are the functions of these helping verbs? How do we use these helping verbs in our practical field, in competitive world? That you need to know. You will get the marks easily. Next, when we come back to main verbs, the main verbs are also called root verbs, and we can say lexical verbs. These main verbs exhibit their meaning by themselves, and these main verbs are categorized in different ways: regular, irregular, transitive, intransitive, finite, non-finite. Most in the competitive field, you have bits based on finite, non-finite verbs. Today, once you observe any question paper today, and most of the bits are based on finite, non-finite verbs. What are finite verbs? What are non-finite verbs? Let me write a small. And verbs, main verbs. Finite, non-finite verbs. You know what are finite verbs? Finite, which means that indicate tense, whether they are in present tense or past tense or future tense that they talk about. They are called finite. Non-finite, they don't indicate. They are main verbs. They are main verbs, but they do not show whether they are whether they indicate present tense or past tense. So what are finite verbs? You can say V1 or V1S or V2 or V3 or V4. What are non-finite verbs? There are 8 non-finite verbs like being, ing form, gerund. Next, you can say ed2 or en form. Next, having plus ed2. Next, having been plus ed2. Next, last one will be infinitive. There are two infinitives, plain and two infinitive. 2 plus 1. So as a whole, how many non-finite verbs are there in English? 8. But this is the most difficult area to even to the English lecturers. Even to the English lecturers, how to understand, how to use being, how to use gerund, how to use ing form, how to use ed2 or en form, how to use having plus ed2, having been plus ed2, and what are the uses of and infinitive, plain infinitive and two infinitive. Today, once you observe many question papers, there are bits based on these aspects, non-finite verbs. But there is little information that is available outside. But once you observe any examination, bits are based on that. You need to master what are all these, how do we use, what are the structures, and how do you get, there are bits, in which of the following sentence gerund is used correctly, and in which of the following sentence ing form is not used as gerund, as an adjective, as a main verb. In which of the, for example, and I have started some spoken English classes. Spoken, this is non-finite verb. And we bought a washing machine. Washing, that is We can say not gerund, it's an adjective, nonfinite verb. Swimming is an aerobic exercise. Swimming, it's a nonfinite verb. Walking makes one healthy, wealthy. Walking, it's a nonfinite verb. Like you need to have. This is the most difficult area to many aspirants who are writing examinations. Next, when we come back to adverbs, another important area. Adverb, you see, adverb mainly talks about three things. Adverb refers to a word or combination of words, and which usually talk about how an action is done, where an action is done, when an action is done. Very important one. For example, Sudha danced superbly. How did Sudha dance? Superbly. Second, Sudha danced yesterday. When did Sudha dance? Yesterday, last day, 2 years ago, 2 months ago. Maybe you can say anything. Sudha danced in the classroom. Where did Sudha dance? In the classroom, in the bathroom, on the table, on the dais. You can say anything. So that is what. So adverb refers to a word which talks about how an action is done, when an action is done, where an action is done. So in the competitive examinations, you will have bits based on order of using adverbs. I will tell you a small code for you. MPT. Adverbs are broadly categorized into three types. Adverbs of manner, place, time. Adverbs of manner, place, time. First we need to use adverbs of manner. So that answers superbly, superbly, adverbs of manner. Place, where? In the classroom. So that answered superbly in the classroom. Time, when? Yesterday. So you have to use so that answered superbly in the classroom, yesterday. This is the right order. So to remember what is the right order of using adverbs, you have to learn a code. What is the code? MPT. Adverbs of manner, place and time. That's it. That is, so in the competitive examinations, this is the most difficult bit, and the rest you will easily answer. If you are aware of this, you can also are aware of adverbs of manner, adverbs of time, adverbs of place. Next, another topic is preposition. We'll talk. Next, conjunction. Very important topic. Once you observe the latest CTET examination, latest KVS and military school examination and teacher recruitment examinations conducted by CBSC or central government, once you observe that 50% of the questions are based on linkers, conjunctions. Very important one. Linkers. Conjunction. What is conjunction? Conjunction which combines, like our Kajipet which connects, to junctions. In the same way, conjunction refers to a word which connects to words, to phrases and to sentences. And what are the types of conjunctions in English? What are the major important? The use of conjunctions play an important role to understand different topics like transformation of sentences, simple, compound, complex sentences. If you want to master simple, compound, complex sentences, you need to have foundation at the level of conjunctions. What are all these conjunctions? So conjunctions broadly categorized into two types: coordinative conjunctions, subordinative conjunctions. What are coordinative? Coordination, you need to have coordination, equal importance. Subordination, less importance. So coordinative conjunctions. What are coordinative conjunctions? These are limited, As a whole, there are nearly below 60 conjunctions in English. Coordinate, but still, yet, however, or else, otherwise, either or, neither nor, whether or, and so, and then, and at once, and therefore, hence. Okay. Next, you can also say and, for, and only. All these are coordinative conjunctions. You study as part of transformation of sentences. Transformation of sentences, there are broadly sentences are categorized into three types: simple, compound, complex. Okay. If there is a question like identify a sentence, that is an example for compound. Simply you need to identify a sentence with coordinative conjunction is called compound. So what is very important, you need to have the knowledge of coordinative conjunctions. What are coordinative conjunctions? But, still, yet, however, or else, otherwise, both and, not only but also, either or, neither nor, whether or, and so, and therefore, and at once, and then, and for, only. All these are coordinative conjunctions. If you identify any one of these conjunctions in any sentence, that is the best example for compound sentence. Simple thing, all these are, Next, subordinative conjunctions. This is list will be somewhat lengthy. What are subordinative conjunctions? Subordination. These are the conjunctions which usually connect to unequal clauses, to unequal sentences. So what are these subordinative conjunctions? Though, although, even though, as, since, because, neither, either, whether, if, suppose, supposing, provided, as if, even if, and as, since, because, as soon as, no sooner than, hardly been, scarcely when, this, that, these, those, as, so as, than, what, why, where, when, who, whose, which, whatever, whichever, however, whoever. So all these are subordinate conjunctions. A sentence with these subordinative conjunctions is called complex. So once you observe, let me tell you my friends, if you observe any question paper today, if you can go for TET examination, or if you can go for bank PO or bank clerk or group 2 examination, any kind of examination, 30% of questions are based on conjunctions, linkers, discords, markers, transformation of sentences like simple, compound, complex sentences. This is the most difficult area to many students who usually write the examination. They are not able to recognize. I will show you some of the examples from the TET and central examinations at the end. Bear with me. That's what. So these conjunctions play an important role. Once you are aware of these conjunctions, then you will answer simple, compound, complex sentences in a better way. Next, second topic. So far we had a long discussion with regard to parts of speech. Two topics that we have covered: basic structures and parts of speech. Next will be articles. Articles. What are articles? Articles refer to, articles usually, they talk about the status of a person. For example, I have a pen. Here, A refers to general. I have the pen that you presented me. Radha, do you remember? I have the pen that you presented me. So I am talking about the pen which was presented by Radha. So here I am talking about the status of a pen, particular status, and who presented this pen? Radha. For example, I can say I have one pen. So usually articles play an important role to talk about what is the status of a noun or a pronoun. What is the status? Are you talking about specific subject or general subject? Are you talking about an ordinary subject or a specific subject? That is determined by articles. Okay, broadly articles are categorized into two types: definite, indefinite. Definite, సినిమాకి వెళ్తున్నాం, వస్తున్నావా రావట్లేదా? So here we are asking definitely. For example, we are speaking to people, I am going to the movie, are you planning to come or not? So we are specifically talking about certain movie. That's it. So these articles, definite, the or the. Next, indefinite, a or an. When do we use? So here you need to master three things. When do we use indefinite articles, a and an? When do we use definite article, the? And third one, when do we omit articles? When do we use a and an? There are certain conditions, small conditions to be used. Certain rules are to be followed. Very simple, limited area that you can master easily. And when do we omit articles? Simple things. Next, prepositions. Prepositions, simple prepositions, including prepositions following certain words. Very important. విభక్తులు మనకు తెలుగులో విభక్తులు అని ఉంటాయి. చేతంతో, తోడంతో, కొరకున్కాయ, వలనన్, కంటెన్, పట్టి. Like you find a lot of these prepositions in terms of Telugu vibhaktulu. And conjunction, samuchayamalu. And these are vibhaktulu. So very difficult area to many students use of prepositions. For example, you need to have certain knowledge. You need to have certain basic knowledge. As a graduate student, you need to master some basics. You need to refer to all CBSE textbooks. You need to refer to all the school-based textbooks from class 4th to 10th. And you need to identify what are prepositions, how prepositions are used, what are simple, compound, and why do we use all of them. And what are the prepositions and that are followed by something. Example, you see, after listen, I am listening to. And you are inferior to, you are superior to. I pray to God. You should not say I pray God. No, wrong. I pray to God. I prefer coffee to tea. Coffee to tea, like that. And Lata has been suffering from cancer. Suffering from, abstain from. So these aspects, and you have to learn certain basic rules, so that you will be able to answer. Next, tenses, very important topic. I have actually organized topics in the chronological order based on my own experience, and in what way, in what order grammar is to be taught. Why we need to begin with the basic structures? I'll tell you, because it includes a lot of educational psychology. As a student of MEd, okay, you need to understand why these are to be taught at the beginning, why tenses are to be taught before teaching active and passive voice. There are certain educational principles. Next, another important topic is tenses. Another and very important area, tenses, tense and time. What does it mean by tense? What does it mean by tense? You can easily identify based on the form of the verb. I am taking a class, present continuous tense. I am taking, I have taken, present perfect. I have been taking, present perfect continuous tense. I taught, simple past tense. How do you identify? Based on the function, based on the form of the verb, you can identify tense. But time, no. I take class tomorrow. I take class tomorrow. Here the verb tense is simple present tense, but the time is future. Okay. I am planning to take another class in the next week. I am planning to take another class in the next week at 5 Mantra career point. So here I am planning to. Here tense is present continuous tense, but it talks about future tense. So you need to know today. First, you need to be aware of what are tenses. What is present tense? Again, present tense is subdivided into 4 types: simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous tense. If you want to understand tenses in a better way, first you need to master verbs. Regular, irregular, transitive, intransitive. First, you need to have complete idea, at least basic idea. Are you aware of nearly 500 main verbs? Are you able to say different forms of verbs? V1, for example, take, takes, took, taken, taking, eat, eats, ate, eaten, eating. These types of forms of verbs, nearly 500 verbs are to be learned, are to be mastered by every graduate student. At least 500. If you have patience, you have to master at least 1,000 main verbs. You should have the knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, balance in your mind, it is not possible for you to. So how do you improve that? Only based on reading. Next, again past tense. So in the most of the competitive examinations, if you take any examination, if they want to give only one bit, the bit is from present perfect continuous tense. Remember, most of the bits are based on present perfect continuous tenses. Again past tense, simple past, past continuous, past perfect and past perfect continuous tense. And you see, if there are 2 or 3 bits, if there are 2 fill in the blanks in one sentence, you need to recognize that can be simple past and past continuous, or simple past and past perfect tense, or simple past and past perfect continuous tense. If the examiner wants to make the paper more difficult, and he usually gives bits based on past tense. Next, future tense. Most of the times we don't get bits based on future tense, but we need to know certain standards to understand conditionals and other grammar. And this becomes a basis to understand the remaining topics. Next topic is if conditional sentences, very important one today. Another important topic that you usually get if you take any exam, and examinations conducted by TSPSC or APPSC in as part of group 2, as part of group 1 objective type of paper, you will get 1 or 2 bits from conditional sentences. Not just this, any examination you have 1 or 2 bits. Conditionals. What are conditionals? Conditionals are the sentences that usually talk about truths, probable actions, imagination of a person, or unfulfilled action. For example, I can say, I want to say, if you throw a ball into the sky, what will happen? It falls 100%. If you throw, it falls. If conditional. These conditionals are categorized into 4 types: type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3. 0 conditionals, probable conditionals, improbable conditionals, unfulfilled conditionals. Just you need to know the structure. structures and certain examples, you will answer easily. And to understand conditional sentences, what is required for us? You need to master tenses first. Next, modal auxiliaries, very important. Modal auxiliaries. First, you need to understand the spelling of the modal. Remember, MODAL. In the competitive examinations, there were also bits based on the spelling of modal. Modal or modal. AL or EL. Like that you need to. So modal, MODAL. This modal, DEL means type, specimen, one type. Okay, it is a model of, it's a different model of pens. So you are talking about the types. But here modal, 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 which means tone, intention, your idea, your internal feeling. What is the mode of the speaker? What is the intention of the speaker? What is the underlying meaning of the speaker? Is the speaker happy or satiric, ironical or sarcastic? What is he trying to say? What is the internal intention of the speaker? That you can identify based on the use of modal verbs. Most of the poets, most of the social critics, most of the intellectuals in languages, they write a lot of English in order to criticize government policies or something else. Then we can use modal verbs. For example, if I say, and I will present a lecture in the next week, maybe, may not be. I may present a lecture, not possible, maybe 50%. I might attend, I might take another class in the next week, which means chances are below 50. I should take class because, and as we are close friends, like that you need to say. So modal verb indicates mode of the speaker. Mode of the speaker. For example, I can say a small sentence. Telangana government will announce DSC in 2022. Maybe, may not be. Telangana government must announce 100% need, like you can say all that. So how many modal verbs are there? I told you at the beginning, there are 13 modal verbs. Will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, need to, ought to, used to, dare to, must. In the examination you have bits like which of the following sentence has a modal verb that indicates past habit. Use it. You need to identify. Which of the following sentence has a modal verb that indicates a suggestion, should or ought to. Which of the following modal verb indicates a polite request, would you please, could you please. May I go now? In the above sentence, may indicates permission or a request or a wish or an order. Permission, seeking permission. You may pass, it may rain this evening. Here may indicates possibility or wish or seeking permission or taking permission. So it is possibility. May God bless you. Here may indicates wish. So the word may talks about different modes. Wish, possibility, probability, taking permission, giving permission, like it has different functions that you need to be aware of in the examination. So in the examination you will get a bit like that. Next, question tags, a very important one. For example, question tags. For example, you see, Riyaz is a good human being. Okay, and I can say a question tag like, isn't he? Isn't he? Or else I can say, I am not happy. Am I? So what is question tag? Question tag refers to a type of a question. A type of a question that is used at the end of ordinary statements. These are commonly used at the end of ordinary statements. Why do we use these question tags? To attract audience, to confirm what we say, to agree what we say, to disagree what we say. That is why we commonly use question tags. So question tags are type of questions that are commonly used at the end of ordinary statements. These are common in conversations. If the statement is positive, the tag should be negative. If the statement is in negative, the tag should be in positive. How do you say that the statement is positive or negative? This is very important for you. If you identify, you will answer the question in a better way. Okay, remember. So, if the statement is positive, the tag should be in negative. If the statement is in negative, the tag should be in positive. How do you say that the statement is in negative? If the statement has certain adverbs like no, not, never, nothing, no one, nobody, hardly, rarely, scarcely, next never, next lot, little, few. These are certain important words. Based on that, you can easily identify that the statement is in negative. So if the statement is positive, the tag should be negative. If the statement is in negative, the tag should be in positive. What are the rules for writing a tag? First, we need to identify the helping verb. That should be written in small letters. In question tags, helping verb should be always in small letters. If it is capital, answer is wrong. And if the statement is positive, and we need to write the short form of not NT, only short forms are to be written. Only short forms. If there is a lengthy long form, the answer is wrong. Next, the pronoun of the subject to be written in small letters except the pronoun capital I. Except the pronoun capital I. So, he or I, only capital letter. Next, at the end, we need to use question mark. If there is no question mark, answer is wrong. If the pronoun is in capital, answer is wrong, except I. If the adverb not is in full form, the answer is wrong. If the helping verb is in capital letter, the answer is wrong. If the pronoun is not written, answer is wrong. All these are basic things that you need to keep in your mind when you write, when you answer questions based on question tags. Next, when we talk of next, another important topic is active and passive voice. In Telugu, we can say Kartari Vakyama, Karmani Vakyama. Kartari Vakyama, Karmani Vakyama. Rama killed Ravana. Transform the sentence into passive voice. Ravana was killed. Ravana was killed. So, how do you say that? First, we need to understand. Most of the students read grammar only for the sake of examination. Don't feel like that. Because this grammar is very useful if once you become a government employee and in your practical field. So from the school days onwards, if you learn grammar as if you feel that this grammar is going to play an important role for you in your practical field to use language. For example, and if you have these kinds of ideas, definitely you will learn grammar in a better way. I have a lot of experience with many of my students of social studies and other subjects, not in English. Some students of English have this difficulty. If I ask them, what is the structure of simple past tense? What is the structure of simple past tense? Students say, what is the structure of simple past tense? Subject plus V2 plus object or complement. This is the idea that they talk about. So simple past tense should always have and V2. This is the notion, this is the idea of every student. But after learning active and passive voice, you will get an idea. Simple past tense doesn't mean that only subject plus V2 plus object. It also meant that subject plus was or were plus V3, this structure. Simple past tense means not just V2, it also was or were plus V3. That you need to learn after you master active and passive voice. That is the intention of teaching active and passive voice, not for examination, not for marks. And they want to cultivate the simple past tense. Rama killed Ravana, subject plus V2. This can also be transformed into Ravana was killed. Ravana was killed also is an example for simple past tense. That you need to get an idea you should be able to use in your practical life. Celebration has been started, present perfect. Not has been doesn't mean that present perfect continuous tense. It also meant that present perfect tense. For example, everybody likes me. You can say I am liked. I am liked. That is also simple present tense. Okay. The teacher will take the class. Simple future. The class will be taken. The class will be taken. That is also simple future tense. You need to have this idea. When you speak something, you should be able to use. When you write something, you should be able to use in your language. That is what the intention behind introducing active and passive voice to the active and passive voice. In every examination, if you observe from class 6th onwards from CSAT, there is an inclusion of active and passive voice. Why? And one more. Active and passive voice is actually to be taught, has to be taught to the students in order to make their language polite. In order to make their language polite. Some of my friends in arts college during my MA, they used to write sentences like, they used to write letters to the principal, arts college principal. They used to write, sir, please give permission. Sir, I am Rajesh, I am from Karimnagar Silsilla, I am studying and MA political science, I no money, please give permission for hostel. They used to write, because even they are not able to. So all these, what I am trying to say, all the statements that they have written are examples for active. So when you write active sentences, they do not indicate politeness. How to write? You need to make them into passive voice. Let the permission be given. You are requested to give permission for joining the class. Like you are requested to passive voice. Let the permission be given passive voice. Okay, next, permission to be granted, like you need to make certain statements. So the more number of passive sentences that you use, the more polite your language becomes. That is the intention behind introducing active and passive voice. So this active and passive voice, how to transform a sentence from active to passive? How to transform a sentence from active to passive? What are the rules to be followed while transforming a sentence from active to passive sentence? First, we need to there are certain simple rules. First, subject becomes object. Subject becomes object. Okay, so here this is so what are the rules to be transformed? What are the rules to be followed while transforming a sentence from active to passive? First, object becomes subject. So first, object becomes a subject. Okay, for example, if you take a small sentence, Rama killed Ravana. Here the object is Ravana. You can use Ravana. So object becomes subject. Second one, based on the structure of the tense, based on the tense of the structure, is it in present tense? We have to use am is are. If it is in simple past tense, was were. If it is in continuous tense, being. If it is in perfect tenses, we need to use be form, been. These are common things. So we need to use one of the be forms. Be forms. How many be forms are there in English? 8. Am, is, are, was, were, be, been, being. Those are to be used. Next, third point will be irrespective form of the verb. Whether the form of the verb is in V1 or V1S or V2 or V3 or V4, we should always use only past participle, that is V3. Okay, here we need to use, if it is simple past tense, was, V3, killed. So we need to use past form, past participle form, that is V3. Next, we need to use preposition by. Sometimes instead of by, we also use other prepositions. If the main verb is satisfied, pleased, delighted, in place of by we have to use with. If the main verb is surprised, amazed, astonished, in place of by we need to use at. If the main verb is known, born, married, in place of by we need to use preposition to. Okay, like that. So here after killed we need to use by. And what is the subject here? Rama. We need to use Rama. Our subject becomes object. But there are certain rules. In place of, if there are certain pronouns, in place of subject or object, in place of subject or object, if there are certain pronouns, they change as follows. If there is I, in place of subject it becomes me. We, us. He, him. and she, her, they, them. Like that they change. If they are in the place of object, if there is me, it becomes EMRS. Any exam, definitely will get 1 bit. Next, when we come back to direct index speeches, Pratyaksha Vakyamu, Paroksha Vakyamu. As part of TET, as part of AP TET or CTET, as part of your TS TET also you study in Telugu grammar, Pratyaksha Vakyamu, Paroksha Vakyamu. Direct speech, indirect speech. What is direct speech? Reporting the actual words of the speaker without changing any change in terms of the actual words of the speaker, we can say direct speech. What is indirect speech? Reporting the actual words of the speaker by making some changes in pronouns, in number, in tense. That is called reported speech or indirect speech. So again there are certain rules. Why do we, and what is the major important need for us to learn this grammar? And what is the major purpose of the inclusion of this direct index speeches into our grammar? Because once you go out and you are happy and you have a number of situations to listen to a lot of speakers, and the same information you want to convey to different people outside and to some specific people. When you want to report what you have been exposed to, then you require indirect speech. So again it includes a number of rules, only learning rules, how to transform a sentence from direct speech to indirect speech. There are certain rules, we need to learn those rules, then you will be able to answer that. Next, degrees of comparison, another topic, very important one. As part of parts of speech, if you master what is the adjective, how does an adjective end, next what is the order of adjectives. Again adjectives are broadly categorized into 3 types: positive degree adjectives, comparative degree adjectives, superlative degree adjectives. 3 important types of adjectives are available in English. Okay, next, once you think of these adjectives, what is degrees of comparison? Degrees of comparison refers to the degree of difference in using adjectives or adverbs. The degree of difference in using adjectives or adverbs. For example, I can say very few countries in the world are as large as India. India is larger than many other countries in the world. India is one of the largest countries in the world, which means all the sentences convey same meaning, but the way you express is different. So degrees of comparison or transformation of sentences like simple, compound, complex sentences, these are one type of grammars, and they provide opportunities to convey your meaning in different ways. Meaning is same, but the way of expression is different. That's what. There's degrees of comparison. Broadly, there are 3 important types of degrees of comparison: positive degree of comparison, comparative degree of comparison, superlative degree of comparison. How do you identify positive degree of comparison? You need to identify, for example, Sehwag is as good as Sachin. Okay, here I compared 2 people, Sehwag and Sachin, by using adjectives and good, by using the adjective good, and I have used connectors as. Or else I can say, how do you identify based on the conjunctions as? What are as? In the examination also there was a bit, as refers to conjunctions. What type of conjunctions? Subordinate, as I told you at the beginning. As. Next, when we talk about, so how do you identify positive degree? Positive degree sentences usually include as or so as, and they include very few or no other or some other. These are the common words that are commonly used. And positive degree sentences commonly, they include only positive degree adjectives, base forms of adjectives and adverbs. Next, comparative. For example, I can say Sachin is better than Sehwag. So the word conjunction is here: better, larger, bigger, prettier, smarter. Okay. Next, higher. All these are. Or you can also say India is larger. India is more powerful. India is more powerful. For example, I have used more powerful. So in how do you identify this is in the competitive examinations, you will get bits like this. Which of the following is an example for positive? Which of the following is an example for comparative? How do you identify comparative and superlative and positive? If the sentence has as, positive. If the sentence has as, so as, or base forms of adjectives or adverbs, that is an example for positive. If the sentence has conjunction like than it's a conjunction, subordinative conjunction. Subordinative conjunction that all degrees of comparative sentence are examples for complex sentences in English. They are called complex. Next. So comparative than any other, than many other, than some other. Or you can find adjectives like larger, bigger, smaller, higher, ER adjectives, or more plus, more beautiful, more dangerous, more intelligent, more intellectual, like that. Next, superlative, you can say India is one of the largest countries in the world. India is one of the largest countries in the world. Here you can say EST, largest, highest, biggest, okay, shortest, or most beautiful, most helpful, most grateful. So most plus adjective or one of the. These are certain expressions that we need to use in degrees of comparison. But very difficult point is they will give you one sentence. They will give one sentence. India is one of the largest countries in the world. Transform it into comparative. Then you need to master some rules. Very few CMs in India are as brave as Jagan. For example, you transform the sentence into comparative or superlative. If you get these bits, certain rules are there that you need to follow. Okay, next you see phrase and clauses. One of the major important topics today, clauses. Identifying clauses, identifying the types of clauses. Mainly, frankly saying, in EMRS examination, definitely out of 10 bits, 1 or 2 bits are going to be on clauses. Remember, this is very important. 1 or 2 bits definitely are going to be on clauses and types. What is clause? Okay, what is clause? For example, let me tell you. Though we started, nobody joined. Though we started, conjunction though, nobody joined. Clauses. Clause refers to a sentence which includes both subject and main verb, and it provides an opportunity to have complete sense or meaning. See, we started, simple past tense. Nobody joined, simple past tense. It has particular subject and particular main verb. What is phrase? For example, see, in spite of reading several times, I failed. In spite of reading several times, this is a phrase. Phrase does not have a subject, does not indicate complete sense. Phrase does not have a particular tense structure, but clause has separate specific structure, specific subject, specific tense structure, indicates meaning, but phrase does not have a sense. And phrase, it is just like optional, maybe a part of the sentence, or you can remove that, and the rest will also have certain meaning. And what are broadly these clauses? Broadly, clauses can be categorized in 3 types: main clauses, coordinative clauses, subordinate clauses. What are main clauses? Clauses without conjunction. What are the conjunctions? I told you beginning. And a clause with coordinative conjunction, coordinative clause. A clause with subordinative conjunction, subordinative clause. And these main clauses are also called independent clauses, principal clauses without conjunction. Subordinate with subordinative conjunctions. Noun clauses, they function as nouns. Okay, they function as nouns. And relative clauses with the relative pronouns, I told you. For example, Dr. Riyaz, who started 5 mantra career point, is an intellectual in Telangana. So, who started 5 mantra career point? This is with the relative pronoun who, that is a relative clause. You can say. Next, finite and non-finite clauses. A clause with finite verb. for example, this is finite class, I failed, and this is non-finite class. In spite of reading, there is a main verb, that is non-finite class. Like that you need to know. There are plenty of classes in English. Again, subordinate classes are categorized into class of condition, class of concession, class of reason, class of supposition, classes of comparison. Like there are more than plenty of classes in English. Next, transformation of sentences. As I told you, transformation of sentences. Samanya vakyamu, samyukta vakyamu, samklishta vakyamu. Samklishta or shlishta. You can have the sense. Samanya vakyam, simple sentence without conjunction. Without conjunction, for example, I am a teacher, there is no conjunction at all. Being a teacher and I started at this class. This sentence does not have a conjunction. This is simple. And compound sentence is with coordinative conjunctions. Example, I read well, but I failed. But coordinative conjunction, but I failed. That is compound sentence. Okay. Prepare well, otherwise you will not get a job. That is a compound sentence. And complex sentence. What is complex? Though we played well, we lost the match. Though we played, subordinate conjunction, and that is a complex sentence. Like there are plenty. Next, few examples. Do we have time? Yes? How much?
The time is completed.
Completed, huh? అయిపోయింది టైం. We'll be talking about certain examples with regard to grammar, and I am giving you these examples are from the latest CTET examination, latest central government teacher recruitment examinations, and I did not include basic examples from APTET or APDSC or Gurukula examinations, but maybe in future I will give you local examples, and maybe since our focus in our present video is based on EMRS, I focused on CBSE, NTA and EMRS examinations. So once we observe, identify the class in the underlined part of the following sentence. As I told you, definitely, and there will be 1 or 2 bits based on classes, remember. So identify the class in the underlined part of the following sentence. He breathed his last in the village where he was born. Where he was born, you see. The conjunction where. Where is an example for? It's an example for subordinative conjunction. All subordinative classes are examples for adverbial classes. So where is adverbial class? So answer is here, third one. Simple thing. Only basic things that you need to get. Out of 10 bits, you will get 10 bits, 10 marks. What parts of speech is the underlined word in the following sentence? Latest CTET examination. I don't know why he is so curious about it. Again, why? The conjunction. Again, the word conjunction, why? It's an example for subordinate conjunction. A class, this is an example for class. He is so curious about it. It's a class with subordinate conjunction, hence it's an example for adverbial classes, subordinate classes. Do you find any adverbial? Yes. The answer is here 4. Simple things all these are to recognize. He could not clear the exam because he did not work hard. See, again, has a sense of because. Conjunctions. So that's what my friends, I'll tell you, master conjunctions in a better way. Once you are aware of the conjunctions, then you will be able to answer. Again, as, since, because. These are examples for subordinative conjunctions. A sentence with subordinative conjunction, it's subordinative class, and all subordinative classes are examples for adverbial classes. Where is the answer? Adverbial classes. Next, which part of the following sentence makes an error? The sudden rise and fall of the prices make a business very uncertain. So business, uncountable noun. Uncountable nouns should not take, they are not used, they do not take articles a. Hence this is wrong. Hence this is wrong. Next you can see, once you have made this decision, there would be no going back. Ram warned me. Once you have made this decision, there would be no going back. Ram warned. Actually, this you can answer this when you are aware of the tenses, when you are aware of if conditionals. This sentence is actually in the form of simple past tense, but here the examiner deliberately included the sentence in the form of past, present perfect tense, hence this is wrong. We need to identify, there would be, whenever we use here would be, there should be simple past tense, not the other. Hence the mistake is in part 1. Next, which part of speech is the underlined word in the following? People are pushing past you. Here the past is and a preposition. It can be used as preposition. Choose the right class to complete. You are well informed about your fellow passengers even before you have entered the compartment. The above sentence, present tense, you should not use, and the answer, the best answer is here the one. And when we look at which part of speech is the underlined word in the following sentence, understanding this process is crucial. This determiner. Next we can see, which is why I was agreeably surprised, and which is the best example for, this is an example for pronoun. This is an example for pronoun. Next, which parts of speech did you ever try to find out? Ever, it's an adverb. Next, since time immemorial, the Hindus have been worshipping the river Ganga. So answer should be like this. The Hindus have been worshipping the river Ganga since the immemorial time. We need to use, not the time immemorial. We need to use since immemorial time. So the wrong will be the part 1. I am not in the best position to advise you in this matter. So here you can see what is the wrong answer. Next, which parts of speech why? Again, this is an example for here adverb. Which part of speech of the following sentence? So once you observe, most of the questions are based on basic examples, basic points. Like that I have and as part of functional English we discussed, and based on vocabulary also, which you can identify. Most of the bits that you are going to have only based on vocabulary. Okay, this is with regard to so hence I request you all subscribe to 5 Mantra YouTube channel, so that and at least weekly once I will be able to take classes for this, free online classes for all of you, and thank you for listening. Kamado.